Buenos días y bienvenidos. Good morning. Welcome once again to Tiempo. I'm Joe Torres. This morning, we will pass on to you some very important information about the Job Corps, a free, federally funded program that provides job training, education, and really all-around skills needed to get a good-paying job. The Job Corps wants more Latinos to get involved, and we'll have more on that coming up in just a few minutes. Right now, though, President Obama's executive action on immigration policy that would have granted protective status to approximately 5 million undocumented immigrants officially now in limbo. Recently, the U.S. Supreme Court turned down a request by the Obama administration to rehear the case shielding millions of undocumented immigrants. The case involved 26 states that accused the president of exceeding his legal authority by offering immigrants temporary legal status and work permits. Well, right now, it really kind of remains to be seen what the next step will be for millions of people whose lives are kind of caught in the balance. Advocates want the next president, as well as Congress, to finally pass comprehensive immigration reform. And here this morning to talk more about what's next, we brought back two Tiempo veterans, our good friend Chris Cabanillas, an immigration attorney, and Mayra Aldas-Deckert from the New York Immigration Coalition, also a previous guest here on Tiempo. Welcome to you both. Yeah, the decision at the Supreme Court was 4-4 because there's not 9 justices on the court right now. Let me ask you this, Mr. Legal Expert. Why do you think they decided, the court, not to rehear the case again? What was the basis of that?
It's pretty unusual for them to rehear a case.
Okay.
So to be honest, it was kind of more of a headline, I think, than anything.
Right.
But there's some other interesting stuff that's happening in other courts. For example, in New York, in the Eastern District, there's a case right now that's testing whether the injunction, or the stoppage of that Texas ruling, the Texas judge's ruling, applies to somebody here in New York. And the rhetoric so far, it doesn't sound like it's gonna.
How could that change things?
Well, that would mean that somebody here, in New York, that the law could be actually applied differently. And so that'll set it up to have to go back eventually to the Supreme Court again to see how they're going to decide, which everybody thinks is going to happen anyway once the new administration comes in. But it does raise a pretty interesting question right now.
Let's get, Mayra, to the people whose lives are caught in the balance. What's been happening at the coalition since this refusal to rehear the case? I would assume you've been swamped with questions.
Yeah, no, definitely. We receive calls all the time. People are saying, "Now what do I do? I went to see a lawyer and I got pre-screened and they said that I could qualify, and now what happens?" It's very frustrating, it's very sad, and we're all angry for it. And our role as an advocacy organization is to hold accountable to all of those elected officials that have failed to support us and to see the needs of our community. So we're still there. We will continue the fight. It's important to point out that we got to where we are right now because we stood up together and we fought, and we're here. So we will continue the fight, and comes,
What do you tell the callers and the people who walk in? Who had those questions? A
lot of the people that call us too, have never seen a lawyer, have never got a screening, legal pre-screening. We tell them to come in to one of our free legal clinics where you can sit down with a pro bono lawyer, and perhaps you qualify for something else and you've never known. Maybe DAPA wasn't for you. Maybe there's something else there. And avoid fraud. Definitely avoid fraud. There's a lot of notarios. We know them.
Well, go see someone good like Chris. Have you gotten a lot more calls? Have you received a lot more interest from people wondering, I'm caught in the middle. This decision affects me. Where do I go from here?
All the time. People, are constantly looking, because they're living in limbo, they're constantly coming back and wanting to know, they've heard this, they've heard that. There's a lot of scuttlebutt out there, and so people are always trying to see if something applies to them. Yeah.
In terms of DACA, there are some misconceptions people have that I know, initially try and clear up. Walk me through one or two of those that people have in terms of whether or not they can still move forward.
Yeah, well, some people have, concerns that maybe DACA 2012 was also stopped.
Correct.
And it's our role, it's our job as advocates, my role, to go out to the community and say, no, you can still qualify for DACA 2012. That was not affected. And come see us, call us, and we'll help you with the application.
Are you at the point as an organization at this point in time, let's just wait and see what happens at the election and then move forward?
No, we're in constant work. I mean, right now our focus is on how do we get prepared to push for a comprehensive immigration reform. Yes, we will wait for the elections, but we're ready.
Yeah, I'm not suggesting that you're sitting on your heels doing nothing, but at the same point, has the Obama administration exhausted all the avenues to try and get comprehensive immigration reform done before the president's term is over?
I think pretty much.
Yes.
Yeah, they're waiting. They're waiting to see how it's going to play out for next year.
Yeah, that'll be the next move. So in terms of DACA 2012, I know that was the big confusion. We've talked about it here on Tiempo. I want to get into that a little bit more when we come back, because yes, there is confusion as to whether or not it still works for me. So we'll review that, because I think it's critical for people when we come back. More on the U.S. Supreme Court's refusal to rehear the case surrounding President Obama's immigration policy. And then still ahead on Tiempo, we love this segment coming up, a free federally funded program. Free, did you hear that? That provides job training, education, and trade skills. They want more Latinos. We'll show you where to go and how to take advantage when we come back.